Our next hero is Sarah, and it says about Sarah that by faith she received power to conceive. And the life of faith and the walk of faith is a life that brings the promises of God to birth. And I love this story, and I love the interaction of Abraham and Sarah in bringing about the fulfillment of God's promise to them. Every word of God needs to meet with faith in order for that word to be conceived, in order for conception to take place, in order for it to become new life. And by faith, Sarah drew the promise out of her husband, and they'd had some failed attempts, hadn't they, in their own strength to try and fulfill the word of God. Sarah had suggested to Abraham, well, take my servant and maybe she will give you the son that God has promised us. And that led to all kinds of trouble. But once Sarah and Abraham had this encounter with God, God comes and visits them. And her initial response perhaps doesn't look like faith, because she laughs and then she lies about laughing. But in her heart, there was a rise of faith. How do we know? Because by faith, she received the power to conceive. And the walk of faith that you and I are called to is the walk that takes the word, mixes it with faith, and sees something new happen. The other thing I love about this story is it shows us something important about agreement. Because actually, we're talking about an individual walk, but Abraham and Sarah, they walked together. And you know, none of us are called to walk alone. And the power of agreement, Jesus says, if 2 or 3 of you agree on anything in my name, it will be done for you. And the life of faith can never be a life lived in isolation. It requires the sharpening of one another. It requires the speaking of faith to one another. And this example is in the husband-wife relationship, but I'm sure in any relationship we have the ability to draw the promise out of someone, to mix our faith with theirs, and to see what God has promised come to pass. And just like Sarah and Abraham discovered, the life of faith is marked by new birth, when the word meets faith and something new is born.